Down a darkened drive, you'll find their candlelight. From a widow's peak, you'll see it burning bright. Through the double doors into their dusty tomb, you'll feel eyes from paintings follow room to room. On the creaky stairs, you may think twice as you tell yourself those bangs are mice. In the upstairs hall, you'll see shadows dance. There's a light from the candle, this is your only chance. You run and you cry as you curse this dark night, only to find at the end there's no candlelight. Instead, there's some headphones you put on full of fear. When suddenly it's every nightmare rolled into one that you hear. And it says, "Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we are warming up. It's feeling good.
It is.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
We passed Easter and it just seems like boom.
Right
like,
into spring.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, a little bit of spring.
Yes.
It's spring in my step. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little froggy. I'm feeling a little hashtag mommy daddy time. It's just that 'tis the season. There's something about it. Makes me want to clean, makes me want to lose weight, makes me want to ravage you, that kind of good stuff. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on right now. Don't you agree?
Yes, there is.
In fact, there's a lot of weird things happening.
Well, that's always the case.
I know,
yes.
but I'm just going to start it off right now.
Go ahead. Start with the weird.
And the weird. So last week, I was driving along and I had the Raja with me. And we were going to the store. I don't know what we were doing. We were just hanging out. We were driving. And it was one of those days where the moon was really big in the sky and you could see it really well, even though it was mid-afternoon.
Right.
And I'm a moon viewer. I'm a moonie.
You are.
And I can't help it. So I'm always mooning around. And I was looking at the moon and because it's such a normal thing for me, I have a moonroof, but I was actually looking at the moon, driving along like I do so dangerously.
Right.
And I saw I could only describe it as like a circle, like a puff of smoke around the upper left side of the moon. And it was almost looked like it was connected.
Right.
But it wasn't connected, but it kind of looked that way.
Right.
And I told Raja, hey, look at that, but it was gone. By the time that she found the moon or whatever and looked at it. You guys have a lot of similarities.
It's like having me right there, isn't it?
So it was one of those things I kept talking about. Like we got into the store and I was like, that was really weird. It was just really strange. There was something there with the moon and I seen it with the naked eye. So it had to be reflective. I wonder if anybody else seen it, So a day goes by, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Yeah, it was like a day. And one of the websites that we watch put up a video and it was a video of the moon and someone had sent something in and it was, hey, we're going to share this. And it was almost exactly what I seen. In fact, it was the exact description of what I told Raja as I saw what I saw.
Right.
And it was like, it was so vindicating. It was just so nice. And I told you, and I was like, wow, we got to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, because you were amazed. You were like, I saw this and then bam, somebody caught what I saw because you were wondering if that had happened. And you were like, it's amazing. Look at this video. And you showed it to me. So
Stacey, when she does news, she doesn't just take for granted because, there is the internet. And not that you can't always believe everything that you hear on the internet, but you can't always believe everything you hear on the internet. So she always tries to find sources, original sources. And I know we've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. So when Stacey does a story, say it's from hogwash.com, she'll look at the bottom of it at the story and she'll find where that source came from and then where that source came from. She gets to the root of the story where the original story happened and then finds out the validity of that site. Not by trusting Snopes, by the way. But
well, I also like to check the date on it too, because sometimes stories get repurposed,
right?
And we think it's just happened when really it's happened, 5 years ago.
Many times she'll pull up. I'll give her a story, and she'll go, "That was 2013," and a lot of times she remembers the story just because she spends so much time with these stories, gets so intimate with the stories, and so anyway, the moon story. So she's looking, hey, I'm going to look at the source of this. So she goes on there, and when she's looking it up, sometimes you'll get like the suggested videos or a video that's kind of like it. So there was a suggested video of, that this particular site was busted for fakery. And you know how people are. I mean, and let me tell you, there's a lot of UFO sites, and I believe in the validity that they believe that they're putting out the truth. Right. But they can't help if somebody sends them something fake. Okay. So I'm protecting this site by not even saying the name. Right. But they sent something in, and they're like, look, this video was proven to be a fake 6 months ago. Oh, you could take the story from here.
Yeah. Well, the suggested video I saw was another guy claiming that this particular site that we watch put up a known UFO hoax, and he put the original video, which was the exact same video that our site had put up, only in reverse. And the original video was done
reverse, meaning that the anomaly, the artifact, was on the other side of the moon.
Right, like it looked like the whole video had been flipped. Right. And the original video was done by a site where the guy is a known, he does CGI. That's what he does. So the video was a CGI product of his that he would let people, ask him to use and give him credit, that sort of thing. So to stand up for our site, this guy somebody sent it to him. He didn't know where it came from. Right. And if anything, he just didn't research it well enough, I guess. But, this other site was like, well, he's putting up this known hoax. Well, the weirdest part of this is what you saw. Yeah. You saw this, but this particular video of what you saw really isn't real because it's a CGI that some guy made 6 months ago.
Yeah, so this is the weirdest thing ever because, okay, let me, now that you've heard that, now that you've heard the punchline, let me once again go through the joke. So, bullet points. I witnessed firsthand an anomaly in the middle of the afternoon, and it was right beside the moon. The exact thing that I described in real time to the witness. A day later, the video wasn't posted until a day later, so this video didn't exist on the internet until a day later. And when it existed, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I seen, and it's exactly, thank God, what I had described. So I had already described it. So,
and it was supposedly done by an amateur astronomer. That's the story that guy was told. This was taken by
and it was astronomer. Even in the middle of the day when it looked
the
like,
timing and everything was right.
So it's very strange because it matches, this fake matched what I actually seen. And, it goes back to this thing that Stacey used to get mad about with Fact or Faked, the show. I remember when that show first came out, and Stacey was like, well, sure, you can fake it. That doesn't mean that there's not something real. Right. And I think that was the point that you made.
Yeah. I mean, you can fake $100 bills. That doesn't mean there aren't real $100 bills in the world. I didn't agree with them all the time. Now, I agree that a lot of times things are faked or can be faked, but just because it can be faked.
Yeah, just because you can recreate
doesn't mean that those original videos are fake.
Right, exactly. Just because you can recreate it doesn't mean that it's not real.
Exactly.
And and this is just weird, guys. It's just strange. I mean,
it is. The whole situation was just very strange.
I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Did anybody else see it? Let us know, please. So I'm going to move on a little bit. Okay. Out of the strange into the bizarre. Okay. So our friend of the show, Doc Nico. Yes. That I say with love. I know, we neither one of us have a lot of time to talk to each other, but he's a friend of mine in Argentina. He's a longtime listener of the show now. Yes. And we have a
good relationship. We talk back and forth sometimes and send each other stories and, when we can. But the cool thing about Doc Nico is he tells me things that you just don't get on local television. He does his best in sending me stuff in English, and he'll send me like a YouTube story, but then he's describing something. So this is great. Okay. Hi, my friend. How are you? I just watched this news on my TV and immediately thought of you. This is kind of weird and funny at the same time. This guy took the skull of his deceased grandfather from his grave. One of the most important football, you may call it soccer, yes, teams in Argentina is Racing Club. They won the Argentinian League last night, and all the fans in Buenos Aires went to celebrate this title. Imagine the kind of passion and the football teams in this country. Of course, they're feverish and going nuts. Supposedly, the grandfather was a fan of the team and even played on the team. In the interview, the guy says, Isla Kabbalah, something like it's a lucky amulet. So it's just really cool. And I watched a story, and there's this dude just smiling ear to ear, and he's got a freaking human skull on his lap.
So he's just a fan.
Yeah, and everybody's celebrating and just running through the streets and all this stuff.
Wow.
Argentina is a strange place.
It is.
I've said it for years. Juan Cruz Martini, Doc Nico. I was going back through some of our archives, and I even found another Argentinian friend that I used to correspond with. And it's really strange because correspondence is not strange. I have many, many listeners that correspond with me. Okay. Like a Chris Martin, like people that I just talk to all the time. But people from all over the world. Right. So it's a wonderful thing. And we've talked about it before. My favorite part of this is the news that I get from all these corners of the globe. But for some reason, I've got a weird relationship with Argentina. And it's just really weird, but it's fun at the same time because I want to go to that graveyard, the like City of the Dead graveyard.
Yes,
that's got Evita.
Oh yeah.
And it's so cool, that graveyard. Oh, I wish I knew what that was called. Look up the Evita graveyard, because what it is like people are celebrating their loved ones. And they build different kind of monuments to their loved ones. Okay. And it's like a whole city of the dead. And as you walk through there, it's some of it's looks like medieval stone castles, but I mean miniature version. Little cabins and just weird Gothic looking things, and it's kind of closed in. You have to take these little pathways and stuff, and it's just amazing. But yeah, that's where Evita is buried. What's the name of it?
Oh, I think it looks like it's called Recoleta Cemetery.
Recoleta. I like that.
Yeah, well, the pictures are really cool because it looks like there's tons of really cool graves with big statues and very ornate, that sort of thing.
Very awesome. And I don't know, I'm not a big, huge fan of what they do these days with buildings, architecture, or graveyards. It seems like we had it right 500 years ago.
Right. Now cemeteries are they want everything very organized, and everything has to be a certain size. And I don't think you can even do the great big, big monuments and statues.
I don't understand why. I don't know if cost has got to the point where it would be so, people worry about cost efficiency so much. Is that the reason that we don't make buildings that are just gorgeous with gargoyles and you know what I mean?
That, or there just aren't craftsmen that can do that anymore.
I mean, perhaps, but everything seems to be so cookie cutter, right? And even houses, they had so much pizzazz and just so much glorious architecture and uniqueness. Graveyards, same way. Tombs.
I suppose it would just be super expensive nowadays.
I guess
do something like that.
I guess it just really bugs me though. I mean, because everything. Well, look at Notre Dame. Okay, unfortunately, Notre Dame was lost. In a fire for the most part. Okay, of course they'll rebuild or whatever, and they've had all these donors give there, but it was really. I mean, there's so much that's lost because, you're not going to get that back. You're not going to get that kind of beauty.
Look at how long it took to build that church. I mean, people don't put that kind of commitment into a building now.
No, everybody, this is the time of, I want it now.
Right.
So if we're going to build a church over here, we're going to get it done in 3 weeks. And, we have to have it done now. And that's just our society. People started building that church and they knew they would not see it finished.
Right.
To me, that kind of commitment, that kind of love, just like the pyramids, just like all these great parts of architecture, throughout history. Think about that. They started building this and they knew that there was no way. Say you're 30 years old. Say you're 20 years old. You're not going to see it. There's no way. I mean, there's a way that 100 years later you could possibly see it, but it's probably not in that time period.
Right.
So, it took over 100 years to build, to complete. And that's just not there. And plus all the stuff that, the Masons and everyone used to put in these buildings, and you had the really cool passageways and just so much stained glass and just the paintings and the murals and the stone, and it's just, I don't know, with all the advantages we supposedly have now, we're supposedly technologically advanced and to the point of, oh my God, we're, higher entities now than we were. For all that, I think we've lost touch with our human side. I think we've lost our humanity quite a bit. Like, we don't leave our thumbprint on the world now like we did at one time. Everything we do now is digitized. We've lost handwriting. There was a story that kids don't learn cursive anymore.
Right.
Right. So we've lost our style, like our style of handwriting that separated all of us. Now we're all the same using our fonts. Okay. We've lost our just, there was the meme, and I'm not getting political on this, but there was the meme of everybody looking the same, being sheep or whatever. But it's tragic because there is so much of that happening where we're losing our identity. And I don't see this generation, and I'm not, once again, pointing out a generation. I'm not talking like millennials or Gen X. I'm talking about us as human beings right now in this era. I don't see us leaving our mark anywhere other than, robots. And that's great. Right. But that's not going to stay there.
Right. That doesn't stand the test of time
for 10,000 years.
Exactly.
And that's what bothers me. I want to see that again. I want that to happen. I want somebody to be like one of these millionaires. If you're listening to the show and you're one of these crazy, wonderful billionaires, listen to what I'm saying. Build something in the desert. Build something just glorious. Build something amazing.
Something out of stone.
Yeah, just build something just amazing out of stone, and put these wonderful colors on it. Hell, let's build our own pyramid. Just something. It's just let's do something that we leave mankind, and it takes 40 years to build, and and we can be proud of it at the end of it and go, look what we did.
Right.
We're not proud. Like, we don't feel that pride as a group, as a collective group. We felt it when we went to the moon, right? We weren't around, you and I, but you can only imagine. That was something all of humanity did.
Right.
And there's not a whole lot of that. That may have been the last thing that all of humanity did. Because everybody felt together at that moment.
Right.
Mankind went to the moon. And that's why I think it would be something like this would do that. If we could do bring builders in from all over the world. Let's just make something amazing. Let's make something beautiful. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go from that to something else. And we're a little bit off the beat today. It's not, this monologue is a little bit different than normal, and that's fine because this is the way we wanted it. So I do want to remind everybody that our show that is for the patrons only, The Realm of Shadows, it will be back within the next week. Okay, so a lot of things come up. You guys know what's happened over the past month or so, but we've got a really cool roundtable. By popular demand, we're bringing Alan and Travis back in, and we've got an amazing topic. If I do say so myself,
yes,
I came up with it, and it's awesome. So we're going to be doing an extra long roundtable just for the patrons, and we're really going to deep dive into some gnarly stuff, you know. And the cool thing about Realm of Shadows is there's no fluff, there's no nothing. It's just for you guys, where we dive right in.
Right. There's like no monologue, no news. We're just paranormal topic right into it.
Yeah, we dive right in, you know, and if you haven't taken advantage of that yet, going on patreon.com/paranormal sideshow, I would encourage you to do that and be a $5 patron is all it's going to cost you. That's your ticket, that's your admission into the tent and to our little sideshow and see the show. David Weatherly is episode 1 of the Realm of Shadows, and there's so much else you can get. Tell them what they can get, Stacey.
Well, you get access to our entire back catalog of all the Haunted South episodes, which are nowhere else at this time, and they're still being uploaded, once a week. And you can also get a official Sideshow Off digital certificate. You can get our exclusive John and Stacey tarot card. You can get a signed 8x10 of our beautiful faces. And you can even get a t-shirt if you go to that level. And it's an exclusive t-shirt that only patrons can get. We don't sell it anywhere else.
Yeah, and we even have the book on there too. So if you want to, and speaking of the book, while we're doing this whole conversation, Till Death and Beyond, The Haunted Journey of John and Stacey Edwards, or as Miss Piggy would say, moi. You can get that on Amazon.com and just look up Till Death and Beyond, and it'll pop up and you'll see once again our beautiful faces. Or you can get it on the website, and that would be
ParanormalSideshow.com, and you will get an autographed copy if you order it off of our websites.
Absolutely. It's the best deal in the paranormal right now for the best book in the paranormal, and it's like hotcakes is what that thing is selling like. So if you already got your copy, I hope you are enjoying it. So, cool story. Back in about 2009, 2008, 2009, I was listening to the only regular paranormal podcast on iPhone that there was. I've always been an iPhone guy, and so I got into the paranormal podcast, which was Jim Harold. Still is, and it was the only one that was like regular. There was a smattering of an episode or two of this person and that person, but this was a cool weekly interview, and there just wasn't any of that happening. Okay. So I listened to Jim and his pleasant voice that I really enjoy. I listened to him nonstop, right? Every week. I couldn't wait. I remember telling you about it. So that's what inspired me in 2009 to start our first podcast, The Haunted South. Okay. And we went hardcore. We started off with an app, and we had there was nobody with an app in 2010, dude. There was nobody with an app. So we were in with this friend of ours who's actually ran a local TV station and did advertising. He had a website business. So we had this cool app, and we had the website, and we had the podcast, and we had a podcast studio. So very professional. That's the Haunted South stuff. We did it live at first, but it was all inspired by Jim. And so I'm very honored for the fact that Jim Harold will be guest on one of his. Jim Harold has the Paranormal Plus Club. And if you're a member of the Paranormal Plus Club, he has a just plethora of shows.
Lots of different ones.
Very cool for people like me that's always on the road. So I have to listen to podcasts all the time because I'm always on the road for work. And I like to get away for a minute in between stores. So Jim Harold's Ghost Insight, which is my favorite of those shows. My favorite show, obviously, is the granddaddy of them all, which was Paranormal Podcast. But Ghost Insight is an awesome show. It's short enough to listen to quickly. It's about, normally about 45 minutes, 30 minutes, but it gets to the point. And it just starts off and it goes right at it and has a lot of very interesting guests, including John and Stacey Edwards. We're going to be recording. So I don't know how long it takes him to get one out. I don't know if it's a week. I don't know if it's 2 days. But just so you know, you need to go and try the Paranormal Plus Club out. I don't know if he has any kind of deals for first time.
I think that he does. I think if you go there, your first month's at a very reduced rate.
Okay, so
you can try it out.
It's worth it because we'll be interviewed with Jim Harold this coming week. Just something to check out, and I like to plug it for him because very cool dude and very professional. We've done a lot of interviews and setting up with people. You can tell, this person's very professional or this person probably isn't, that kind of thing. So, and something else, if you would rather see us than hear us, which I can't imagine why, I told you guys we would be announcing some events that you'll be able to see us. Well, are you ready for a drum roll?
Sure. I'll insert drum roll right here.
Okay. So, I know the suspense is killing you. You will be able to see us and probably be able to see us at a few places before this, but this is just, this is just how this has been released. We will be at Scarefest September 12th through the 15th in Lexington, Kentucky. We will be returning to Scarefest for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. This time we will be speaking, so you can come and watch us give a little lecture. Which I'm sure there'll be several engagements of it. And hopefully we will see you in the room and be able to converse with you and have some fun, have some laughs. We're going to have a good little presentation ready. And it's us. It's John and Stacey, so it'll be off the wall. So we're going to give that.
We'll have a presentation, but we probably will go off of off topic.
Totally off the rails. But no, we love doing lectures. We really love doing lectures. And I promise I won't wear a sweater vest as I have in the past. So I will be on my best behavior and I'll try to just keep it to a hoodie. But yeah, we're going to be there September 12th through the 15th, Lexington, Kentucky. Scarefest 2019.
Yes, we'll have a table. You can come by and talk to us at our table.
Yeah. You
can come to the lecture. There's going to be a lot of cool people there. I don't think they have everybody announced yet, but generally it's really great.
Freaking Bruce Campbell.
Yes, Bruce Campbell is going to be there.
One of my deities is going to be there. Before it was cool to love Bruce Campbell. I loved Bruce Campbell. One of the first things Stacey ever knew about me was my love for Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. It's I never shut up about it. Gifts that I used to get would be like the Ash toys and all this stuff. So, I might just, and I've loved everything he's done. I mean, even on Xena, and the cool thing is Joxer's going to be there too from Xena.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just excited, and yes, I'm going to call him Joxer, But no, that stuff's cool, and we love Scarefest. It's our favorite. Like I said, we'll be at others, but this one, if you go to one con and in the paranormal field, you need to come to this one. It's worth the trip. It's worth the time. You'll not be disappointed. They've never let us down. It's just a lot of fun and a lot of good people. So the local people that are there, and people that have something to do with it behind the scenes, they are the best people in the world. And it's just a really good feeling. Safe for the family, fun for the family. So I hope you guys come out and see us and enjoy our lecture. A lot of good stuff happening this summer. A lot of cool things. We have some investigations lined up. We're going to be doing a place here in just the next few weeks that we can't wait to do. So hopefully we'll share a little bit of evidence from that place with you guys.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can't wait to share some evidence from this place because it's just a really old Civil War place, and just excited to do it. And we can't give a whole lot of details of why we're doing this one in particular, but we can say that we're going to have some fun doing it, and we'll bring you some evidence back for the show. But there's just a lot of stuff going on, and you can find out more details on just about everything by going to ParanormalSideshow.com. Once again, like Stacey said, that's the place to find all the best, and you get her newsletter there, and you get all the links to everything. That's all that matters. Leave us a like, leave us a review, buy the book. And when you buy the book, leave a review and make it 5 stars and talk about how pretty Stacey is, because she's about to give you a good old dose of paranormal news. Ow.
She's the GOAT of paranormal news, traveling the globe to find you the stories you didn't know you needed to hear, and the stories she knows you'll never forget. It's time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so this is a special drop-in. It's not something that was originally included. We recorded actually last night, and Stacey is in the process of editing this episode to put it out to everybody. So a little time travel here. The episode was one of my favorites that we've ever done, and just because of this, the news stories you're about to hear are amazing. I'm just going to give you that little nugget. When I was done with the show, I was absolutely blown away. I think it's one of the best episodes. So I almost hate to put anything into it, but a story sometimes will drop that we can't control when stories come out, and it's the news, right? So there was what we consider a major news story in our field. And so we felt that it was necessary to put it in now instead of waiting for a week, just because of the implications it could have. So I will let Stacey take it from here.
All right. So news story that just broke today is about how the U.S. Navy is drafting new guidelines for reporting UFOs for the military personnel.
Wow.
Which is huge.
Yes.
They are currently drafting new guidelines for pilots and personnel to report what they call unidentified aircraft, which is, of course, a new thing for them, because normally military, they don't report that thing because it's stigmatizing. They feel like it's going to hurt their career, or they're going to be laughed at.
Since way back in the Blue Book days, I mean, they just don't report it. I mean, pretty much they ignore it, or show up at your house and take you away.
Right. And it's been a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has been a problem. It's something that we've addressed before. But in this article, the Navy said in a statement that there have been a number of reports of unauthorized or unidentified aircraft entering various military-controlled ranges and designated airspace in recent years. And they feel like for safety and security concerns that they need to start taking this stuff very seriously and investigate every report and give their employees an outlet to be able to report that, without worrying about it, without it being bad. And they're drafting guidelines right now to send out to the entire military on the procedures and what they need to do to report that. And they are calling these things unexplained aerial phenomena. They're not going with the UFO lingo.
It's the UAP.
It's the UAP, yes.
And obviously the UAP came into prominence with the To the Stars Academy, so that really, more validity there, right? So
right. Well, this does come after the whole announcement about the secret Pentagon space program.
Right.
We talked all about that in the To the Stars Academy, and members of Congress have been pressuring the military now to be more open to this and be more investigative with it. And of course, the Navy's not actually endorsing that people have seen alien spacecraft.
Right.
They're not saying that. Very well could be other countries' secret military projects that are being seen. You just don't know, and that's why they need to take this seriously. Now, they're not. The Navy's not letting us know who's being briefed or what the draft is saying, or they're not letting out any of that kind of information. It's still very secretive what they're doing, but they did let it be known that it's in the works. It will be out soon, and I think this is a great step forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's a step forward, but it's also, I mean, there's something to this. There is absolutely something to this. I've got to blow a little conspiracy horn on this.
Is that the conspiracy horn?
Well, hold on a second.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. See, I have to wait for it to come back off that hill over there.
I see. It's like a chain.
Yeah, all the conspiracy people.
I see. It's now blowing on the other side of the world.
It is somewhere like in Mogadishu or however you say that. Yeah, but anyway, somebody will correct me. They'll send me an email. They always do. So this is something big, and I believe it's something bigger than we realize, because they are saying, yeah, there's things that we can't explain. Okay. We're not saying they're aliens.
Right.
But they're aliens.
Right.
I mean, when they say that there are unexplained, credible, unexplained sightings, okay, that's freaky.
Yeah.
That's freaky because that is absolutely given validity to all the stories and from an official stance.
Yes.
So we know that they know a whole lot more.
Oh, absolutely.
So why would they take this stance unless they are actually maybe crumbling to the world of disclosure?
Right. Well, slow disclosure. We talk about it all the time, little bits at a time. So see, now if they start having these reports from credible pilots and military personnel and those things start getting out, then
that's the question. Are we going to hear some of these reports now?
Some of that's going to get leaked.
Well, I mean, maybe not even leaked. Maybe because they've already said, hey, this happens. Maybe we get some reports.
I mean, it could be a whole new world now.
If I was little, 17-year-old John, if you wanted to recruit me, something like this would do it. Like if they were like, well, this is what we saw,
Right.
Be all about it. Anyway, guys, you take your own conclusions as always on this. We just think this is a really big and developing story. So on to your regularly scheduled podcast.
All right, so let's get to the news. All right, so let me start with the story about, you already talked about it, about Notre Dame and, the big fire, just devastating fire that they just had. And we talked about it when we saw the fire going. We happened to mention, or I happened to mention, about all of the stories we've had about the fires and the churches and the religious items that didn't get burned.
Yeah, like week after week.
Right, and so of course there's a story like that for Notre Dame.
Really?
There is. And it's not surprising. The church is very big. And of course, the spire did collapse. The 295-foot, amazing spire. It collapsed. There was no saving that. But at the time of the fire, they were having a renovation done. So a lot of the statues that were in the cathedral had already been removed. So all of those are saved.
Strangely enough.
Yeah, there was a story where a lot of the really important relics were saved. There was priests that made a human chain, and they just got that stuff out of there. Like that was their priority. I mean, we're talking crown of thorns.
Yeah.
We're talking some really irreplaceable religious relics.
Yeah.
All of that was saved. I believe they did lose, paintings, things they couldn't remove. The organ, the big organ, was spared from the flames.
Oh, wow.
It is damaged.
Yeah.
Needs to be repaired. They're not sure that it's ever really going to be the same, like sound the same. But as far as seeing it, it's still there. But what was really, really interesting and that they did a story on was that the cathedral's golden altar cross was still standing when they went in to survey the structure. And even the votive candles that people go in and they light the candles when they do a prayer were still lit in this altar area.
What the hell?
Yeah, like this whole area, this one little area of the cathedral was just untouched. Like the altar part was there, the cross, and some of those little votive candles were still lit and untouched, undisturbed.
That's really crazy.
While they were trying to fight this fire.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange?
No,
I thought that was really weird.
Really is. It really is. Mm-hmm. Did you see the big thing that people saw in the flames?
Well, of course. I believe they saw Jesus.
Yes.
In the flames. Of course they did.
Yes. Or if you're a politician, they seen that Easter worshiper guy. But
But I was glad to hear that they were able to save all the holy relics because we were concerned about that. Like when we first saw the fire, we're like, oh, that amazing stuff they have there is, going to be damaged. But really it wasn't. But what was so surprising was this cathedral cross. I mean, this altar cross that was just undamaged. And,
well, we knew it was going to happen.
Well, of course.
I mean, you said it right when I told you, you said it was, and it was crazy. But the crown of thorns, that's, I know somebody ran in to get that.
I think it was part of this, what they were calling a human chain to pass the relics out of the building. Yeah, and some kind of tunic, some kind of garment worn by a 13th century French king. I'm not sure why that was there, was saved. Some chalices and, just different things that they held really.
What about the basement where they keep all the original history of the plans for Paris?
It didn't say, this particular article didn't say.
The original architecture plans
right.
for the city of Paris.
Right. I don't know. I have no idea if those survived or not.
I mean, I would never even have known they were there until this fire.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know that Notre Dame, since you're saying it like that, I've always said Notre Dame. I guess.
I think it's
potato, right?
Yeah, I think it's either or.
So I never knew that there was relics in the basement of that place. Like, you know about the Vatican and things like that. It makes me wonder now how many of these religious sites or these holy sites or these just ancient sites have that basement locker, I
don't know. I mean, supposedly that's a really safe place, I suppose, to store things like that. Oh, and I did read that the stained glass windows are still intact.
Yeah, it did a little bit more stainer. Did you see the and I'm not going conspiracy here. We're just talking about it, so I'm talking about everything I've seen from it. Did you see the thing with the person walking?
I saw a video where they saw a person walking like on the second floor,
right,
or
during the fire.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is like upstairs or just on the second floor. They shouldn't be there. Now, conspiracy theorists are trying to say, well, this is someone in a in a Middle Eastern type
right
garb, right? The first thing I thought, and this was just the first thing I thought, go find this video, people. I really thought, my God, it's the ghost of a nun or of a monk or something.
Right.
And because that's the first thing I seen. And if you look at it and you're not thinking what most people were thinking, if you just had an open mind and you see a burning church and then you've seen this vision,
right,
you're going to be like, oh my God, it's Mary. I mean, it's,
it's a spirit.
That's what I thought. I mean, I've seen many pictures in fires, right? And there's the one, it's like from 1995 and it's like Wim Hall, and it's in England. I don't know where at in England, but
right.
If you look it up, girl in burning building, it's a famous picture, and I know you know the one I'm talking about.
I think I do.
She's like staring out, like almost staring at the camera.
Right. And she was just like, they just found her in one frame, and that was it. And she's in the building that's burning. Right.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just really freaky. But that's what I was thinking of.
Right.
Is, because it's just a tragedy and it's just something happening like that. So I don't know. Just cool stuff.
Yes. So there's our obligatory religious item survives fire story. All right, so let's move on to another story, some really sad news that we have recently, and this is about Lorraine Warren. She did pass away at the age of 92 very recently, and of course everybody was moved by her and her husband, Ed, and there's a lot of heartfelt expressions going out. Everyone was very touched and sad to see her go.
Yeah. So in recent years, the Warrens have come back into the spotlight because of the Conjuring series and the Conjuring universe of movies, which are fantastic movies. And I absolutely love them, regardless of how much is fact and how much isn't. Get a life. But they're just enjoyable movies, And the Warrens, though, meant so much to us early in our careers, and still do. But, when we were trying to figure things out for ourselves, books like The Demonologist that were, told the story of the Warrens pretty much, and, of Ed and Lorraine, and just on all the old TV appearances they had, and they were it, right? And you had the couple, and that's just, we always saw so much of ourselves someday in Ed and Lorraine. And it's something that, relationship goals, right?
Right.
That was basically us. We've always been this strange couple that were not particularly wanting to do this. This is just where we were pulled into, and we'll always be together. And, at least she's back, now with Ed. But it is a loss. It's a huge loss for the paranormal field, because they are pioneers. I know that the Psychical Research Society, 1890, I get that. But as far as the kind of ghost hunting that we do, as far as paranormal investigations, okay, there are pioneers out there. and they are the granddaddies and grandmother of what the kind of paranormal investigating that we do. And they really brought a lot of that into the limelight with some of the most famous cases, regardless of what you think about them. Some of the most famous cases in the history of paranormal investigating. And, you know, there's not many people these days that go do a case that garners worldwide attention.
Right.
It's a different time now. It's a different era. You can never have that again. Just because we've been desensitized to the degree that Ghost Adventures can pick a full-bodied apparition up and, you know, tap dance with it, and it's not going to make the news. Okay? But back in the day, when you had the Amityville Horror, you know, when you had a haunting in Connecticut, you have these kind of, you know, these kind of things, and God knows Annabelle. You know, it captured attention. It just captured attention, and really Amityville did the most for them. I actually met a girl in the family from the haunting in Connecticut, from the real story, and I actually worked with her, and she had moved, her and her family moved to a town that I lived in, and you know, so I got close to them or her, and got to know a lot of the story and everything. So I don't know, it's just everybody has a story in the field, right? But it's a big, huge loss, and
they were mentors to a lot of people, and
absolutely,
you know, definitely inspirational to a lot of people as well.
Absolutely, but you know what? Their legacy and their legend lives on. So all we can do is honor that memory, and, you know, rest in peace.
Exactly. All right. Well, just wanted to mention it so we could, you know, pay our respects. But now let's move on to some of our more normal news.
Okay.
What we consider normal.
Right.
So I've got a story here that was on NBC News. It was in mainstream media, and I thought it was really strange that this sort of story was in a mainstream capacity. And it's called, the headline for it was, "Why Alien Megastructures May Hold the Key to Making Contact with Extraterrestrials."
Yeah.
That's the headline.
That is strange.
So it's strange that a story in mainstream media is just very blatantly talking about alien megastructures and talking to extraterrestrials.
Right.
That is not something that would have happened. Now, this particular story was written by Seth Shostak, who is the senior astronomer for SETI, you know, the former director when it was a separate, you know, department. So he knows a thing or two about looking for extraterrestrial. And it's really an interesting article. He talks about how just listening for the radio signals like they normally do, like SETI normally does, is not very accurate. He calls it the equivalent of being able to walk outside and catch a raccoon stealing food from your garbage can, you know, exactly timed perfectly. You know, it's hard because the space is so big, it has to be perfectly timed. So he wrote this article about how using an alternative of searching for physical artifacts, you know, alien structures, alien megastructures, is a better way to go about it. So I don't know, it's very strange that something of this nature was put in mainstream media.
It's really strange because in the past year, past 2 years, we've had fast radio burst. And for the first time in eons, since I guess the WOW signal, you know, we've had these fast radio bursts that really have, and for good reason, have garnered so much attention and so much talk, and we think about them and what could they be. So, you know, that's all audio. And that is coming in. So it's really strange timing, I believe.
I think so. That was my point, like the timing of it and the way that...
I mean, the audio just got interesting.
Yeah, and this is the director for SETI, the place that listens for the audio, now saying, is this really what we should be doing?
It's almost like, don't look over here, you know?
Look over here instead.
But the alien megastructure thing is, you know, yeah. I mean, I agree we should be studying whatever the hell that is.
Right. And it's not been proven. We've never found one. You know, they had the whole Tabby Star thing that they speculated was, you know, a Dyson sphere or whatever. So it's not like we've had that we know of, you know, been able to find any kind of alien megastructure. Not that anybody's said or that they've admitted. I mean, could this just be part of the slow disclosure, making it all okay? Yeah. You know, talking about it to make it normal.
Well, you know, I said something funny. The big thing, which was spectacular, and we talked about it on the show, but the discovery of a black hole, the photographing of a black hole.
Yes.
That was such a big deal. And again, people just, if you're not in it and think about space all the time, you don't realize what a big deal that is. But it was a theory, and it was proven, and you got the picture. It was weird. I didn't tell you this.
Okay.
So you know what memory popped up on my Facebook after we did that story?
What's that?
Stephen Hawking. From a few years back.
Right.
Talking about how black holes could be portals to other dimensions.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird timing.
It was completely bizarre timing. And this goes with, it should have been in the first part of the show with all the weird stuff happening.
Right.
But it was almost like the fact of my mind had just quit thinking about that. And then I don't check those things all the time.
Right.
And I just went through there and I just was scrolling. You know how it goes. You're just bored. And I was like, oh my God. And it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I guess. And it was just Stephen Hawking's story where he said, the black holes could be portals to other galaxies or other dimensions.
I mean, they could be. No one will ever find out because you can't just jump in a black hole and then come back and tell everybody what you saw.
I would.
I know you would.
Like if they would tell me right now that you can go do it.
Right. You just jump right in.
I would do it. I would go and just see. I would fly into it and see where it took me. Absolutely, man.
How would we get you back out?
But I don't care about coming back out. Can you imagine? What if you did go to another galaxy or another dimension or something and you get to see that, right? I would give my life for that. I would give my life for the moment of being able to see something so glorious and an adventure into something so glorious. If you're listening, NASA, I'm here.
I'm not going to let you do that.
Oh, well, Stacey will come with.
Nope. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about a little history of a location here because there's an odd story that goes with this location. So I'm going to give you a little history of it first. And this is about the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Okay, sounds interesting.
Okay, so Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And when you look up the history of Eureka Springs, it's one of those places where they have the bubbling springs that they considered, healing water.
Right.
And back in the late 1800s, they built a hotel there called the Crescent Hotel. It was like a luxury hotel, and it was really close to all these bubbling springs, and they touted it as healing water, and everybody could come and partake. So later on, after it was not a hotel anymore, it was a school, it was a lot of different things. In like 1937, it was bought by a man named Norman Baker. And at the time it was aging.
A candlestick maker?
He was not. But at the time it was kind of just an aging hotel, and he opened it up as what he called a cancer hospital and hotel resort.
Was he a doctor?
He claimed to be a doctor.
Okay.
But in fact, he was more of a con artist.
Oh.
And he supposedly made these elixirs that were supposed to help cure cancer and had all these cures.
Snake oil.
And he basically conned people out of their money and told them that he could cure them from cancer.
So he conned poor sick cancer
patients out of their money.
Oh my
did
God.
horrific things to them, did not actually treat them. And I believe in the article that I read, it said that nobody actually died from his quote cures, but their death was expedited because they weren't getting the proper health care that they should have been getting because they thought he was a doctor when he wasn't. And he was convicted. He served time in Leavenworth, but the investigation revealed that over the years he had defrauded the cancer patients out of like $4 million.
Wow.
We're talking about back in the 30s.
So that would be like 400 million.
Yeah, it was insane. Not a nice man.
Right.
So the news story that has come out today, now this Crescent Hotel is open now. It laid, dormant for a while, but it eventually was bought and redone into its original splendor. It's like a spa. It's a place that you can visit, and it looks very nice. It's beautiful. And some groundskeepers that were working at the hotel found a bottle about 3 months ago, an odd little bottle that had some clear fluid in it and something else in it. And they didn't really know what it was, but eventually they discovered about 500 bottles that had different body parts and medicine and things in it that they claim go back to the time of Norman Baker.
Wow.
Because there was like medical records that are there, and there's posters, and some of the bottles match up with some of the medicine bottles on the posters that he had. But some of them are like remnants from, I guess, his treatments, because there's actual flesh in some of them.
Oh my God.
And there were archaeologists that were out there kind of helping to dig up, and they believed that it was like a dump site, like the place. It was, I guess, Norman Baker, this is how he disposed of things that he didn't need. And it had like, alcohol, formaldehyde. It was just horrible, horrible stuff. They also found an old bone saw that they believed that Baker may have used to work on his patients. And they found a 60 millimeter film that was buried. And they don't really know. They couldn't see everything on the film. They did see something that said like before and after, like they haven't restored the film yet. But just crazy, crazy stuff. And it just so happens that this find comes right after an investigation that was done there by Ghost Adventures.
Really?
Yes. And there's a Newsweek article about that they are there for filming for their new season upcoming. Yeah. And, this episode will be out, I think, in June sometime.
Yeah, they turn them around really quick.
Crescent Hotel. But it happened right after they investigated there. Then all of a sudden these bottles started turning up, like the big cache of bottles started turning up.
That's amazing.
So it's very, very strange. And they did Newsweek did an interview with Zach and asked him about it. And he did say that when they were doing the investigation, that he feels like he may have had contact with Baker's spirit during, the investigation. He said that he was in the pain asylum and his head was like near a sink that was in there, and he got a spirit voice of a man saying, "You got credit." And he said it was very clear, and it felt to him like someone was asking, do you have cash? Do you have credit? Do you have some way to pay?
Yeah.
Because that's what he did. That's what Norman Baker did. He just wanted the money.
Right.
And so, I don't know. It's very strange.
Wow.
And if there were people there that died that were scammed and they didn't get a cure, I mean, can you imagine how haunted that place would be?
Yeah, so maybe something that happened with Ghost Adventures being there, they knew that this was the time to get their story out.
Right.
And because this was going to be on, worldwide television, so, this was the best way, because the story would come out, and because of that, people would watch that episode.
Right. And that's not unheard of. And if those guys had been in there, and how Ghost Adventures works, they go with the story and they go to try to find, they use that story and try to figure out if any of those spirits are there. And so if they were in there and they thought that they were discussing things with Norman Baker, like the spirit of Norman Baker, and there are unsettled spirits there that had to do with that, they would want them
absolutely
to know. They would want to get that message out.
They want to get the message out. They want to tell the story. And that's a perfect way to tell the story. This sounds to me cut and dry, because all these years that's been able to been found, right? So just so happens Ghost Adventures goes there. This is their chance with the largest paranormal show out there, and they do this. It's an amazing story. It's very cool.
It is.
I hope when they do air it, they put that part.
I hope so. I would think they would.
By the way, I looked up $4 million, and today's currency is $14 million.
Wow. Yeah. He only served 4 years in Leavenworth. It said that he was released and he just lived in Florida. He lived comfortably in Florida.
You can give me $14 million, I'll stay in Leavenworth for 4 years.
Yeah, because I guess he had that money. I don't know if they didn't confiscate, because it said he lived comfortably in Florida after his release till his death. So I don't know. It's terrible what he did. Terrible story. But cool place, and you can rent it out for overnight investigations. Like it's a place that does do tours, and they do allow you to come and you can pay to do the overnight investigation, which would be, I can't wait to see that episode. I'm curious if that's a potential candidate for a keeper.
Yeah. I mean, really.
With the doctor and the patients.
It sounds like a keeper anyway. And that falls into with the doctor and patient so many times. And if you don't know what we're talking about, then you need to get the book. You need to absolutely get the book.
All right, well, let's move on to another story here. This is about a mysterious, creepy animal death. where they have no idea what happens. So a farmer in Mexico lost like 71 animals to a mysterious nocturnal predator. And, they're throwing around the word chupacabra, of course, because they don't know what it is. So this particular farm, I believe the first incident of this happened a while back. Like, he lost animals a while back, but it had been a while since anything had happened. But then recently, he lost 20 sheep in one night. 20 sheep.
Wow.
And after reeling from that loss, that was a lot of sheep.
Yeah.
The mysterious beast returned, and this time he had a night watchman. And the night watchman heard the commotion, and it was like the beast was getting in where the chickens and the hens were. So he had a machete, and he went out to stop what was going on. But when he got out there, he saw what appeared to be a black creature of what he says was tremendous size.
Oh, my God.
And he decided that he was not going to get involved with that.
Not with a machete.
There are 3 dogs on the property that all ran.
Wow.
Like, they didn't try to intervene at all. They were completely scared. And a total of 51 chickens had been killed. And when you look at the pictures, what's weird is the chickens were bit in the neck and the blood was gone. The chickens aren't torn apart. They didn't bite the bodies or the legs. And even the man said, like a local vet was like, this is just some kind of canine. This is some kind of dog doing this. And he's like, dogs, they just bite. They just grab and bite. They're not precise like this. They don't drink the blood and bite them in the neck. And plus, the way that the animal got into the chicken coop was a hole that it created in the roof, which was at least 6 feet off the ground. So whatever it was able to jump really high, get in through a hole, bite all these chickens in the neck, drink their blood, and then run off.
So it didn't even eat the meat?
Not, as far as I can tell. It does not say that it ate any of the meat. And that one guy did see it, and it was huge and black. That was all he could say.
What the hell's going on?
I don't know. It was very, very strange.
I mean, it sounds like a demon or something. I mean, that's just so creepy.
It is. It's very creepy. And he...
do you remember like a few months ago, the vampire? I mean,
with the sheep, and it bit him in the leg.
Yeah, we had a rash of vampire things, and vampiric at least. And it was very similar to this. I don't think there was any witnesses to what it was that did it at that time. So this may be the first witness that we've had. Right.
And, they didn't get close enough to get a really good view, but for them to say that it was that big is just very odd.
No, it is odd.
So, and, this guy's really upset about it. He plans on putting cameras up and maybe getting more people to watch, because he's afraid now that all of his animals have been killed. He doesn't want it coming back for his dogs or his kids or any of those things. He's terrified.
Poor guy.
And that was his livelihood. Yeah. So very strange. I'm curious to see if they come up with any other explanations.
I wonder if there's a curse on that guy. Like, I wonder,
I don't know
if he did something, and
perhaps one of his neighbors.
Yeah, just interesting, but it sounds absolutely horrifying.
It does.
It really does.
And I hope that they still look into it, because, like I said, the local vet insists that it's just some sort of canine attack. But it really doesn't sound like it. I mean, it seems to me...
we need absolute experts to come in on something like that. I mean, with that many sheep and that many chickens, and especially with what's been happening. And see, this is the problem with being in this field. People just laugh. They don't take this stuff serious. And here, this is a real story. This is something that actually happened. Regardless if there's an actual explainable, I'll accept that. If there is something to explain it, that's fine. It just doesn't make sense, though, with the 6 feet off the ground.
Right, and not taking the chickens to eat them.
Not eating the chickens, just drinking the blood. I'm sorry, I don't think dogs just sit and drink chicken blood dry.
No, and I don't think that they would be patient enough. I mean, you're talking about a chicken that's probably running around.
Premeditated murder.
And screaming and squawking, and I mean, it's hard to catch chicken.
What about the 20 sheep?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's a hell of a dog.
Exactly, and that's a lot of sheep for one night. So, very strange story. I'm going to try and keep up with it. It's one of those stories that you have to translate every time it comes out. So I'll do my best, but hopefully they find some kind of culprit.
I don't know. Do you want them to?
Well, I mean, I'd like for them to figure out what did it and stop it. Maybe not come across it.
I believe
on a
some of
dark
those
night
other
in the wood.
stories were in Mexico too.
I think so.
I believe at least one of them was. Interesting.
I think so. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about scientists for a few minutes.
The baffled ones.
Well, these scientists are probably baffled, but some of these scientists are doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing that are worrisome.
Like porn?
No, maybe. I don't know. I don't get into their personal lives. But I'm going to go through these next few stories.
I call this my beaker.
I'm going to go through these next few stories, and you'll see what I mean. As I go along, you'll see what I mean, okay? So this first story is about some scientists that extracted liquid blood from a 42,000-year-old foal that was found in the Siberian permafrost. So baby horse, very, very old baby horse, and they are trying to extract DNA from it. Do you know why they're trying to extract the DNA?
God, yes.
So it's an extinct baby horse. It was found with its skin and hair intact, almost pristine condition.
No.
And they are trying to get some viable DNA so that they can, eventually clone it and bring this species back to life. So this article is about how they were, in fact, able to extract some liquid blood, even though it's 42,000 years old. Now, another scientist claims that this doesn't matter, that the blood they extracted doesn't have complete DNA sequence. The nucleuses are damaged. They don't think that they're going to be able to do it, but these scientists that are working on this are very optimistic. They are positive about the outcome. They think they're even looking for a horse to be the surrogate for their clone. I mean, they are gung-ho, ready to go with it. So
what do we do if this horse comes out and it's like, hey guys, where the hell am I?
I don't know.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Like,
it's 42,000 years ago.
They think that they know, everything there's to know about these animals, but I don't know. And this is the same group that is also working on the woolly mammoth thing, because they're still all about cloning, bringing back the woolly mammoth. Not something that I feel like should be done, but they're very, very excited.
No, it should not be done. It should. Things that are dead should stay dead.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That is researchers from Russia that are working on that right now. Of course. Okay. So we have some scientists in this next story that have revived cells in the brains from dead pigs.
Oh, yeah.
You saw this story, didn't you?
Yeah.
So this was somewhat controversial.
You think?
Yeah, where they took brains from slaughtered pigs and they did an experimental treatment, and blood vessels in the pigs' brains began functioning. And they put a blood substitute in there, and certain brain cells regained their metabolic activity and even responded to drugs. Now, the work's very preliminary. They say it has no immediate implications for treatment of brain injuries or anything like that, but they're very excited about what they're calling partly alive brain. Now, it's strange because, you used to have these very clearly defined, this is dead, this is alive, and now that's getting blurred.
Dude, it's so bad. Listen, the scientific story recently where they finally determined that when you die, there's still a consciousness that's going, and so you can actually hear them pronounce you dead, and which is just horrifying, right?
Right.
On its own. This is in that same vein of horrifying, partly alive. Like, what's coming back? What part of that's coming back? Is there something, like, I don't know, dude. And pigs are so close to humans in so many ways.
As far as brain capacity and stuff. And I know that I think the goal of the study is to eventually be able to treat people who have had extensive brain injury, like because of strokes or heart attacks. And it raises ethical questions. Should you do that? But that is what they are working toward. And they have achieved, reviving cells from pig brain that was dead. So there we go. So we've got cloning and creating pig zombies.
I truly believe they've been trying to take the masculinity out of the world and also put stuff in our food or whatever that lowers our counts and our testosterone. And, you know, and just really that's instead of killing, you know, 2/3 of the population, why not just thin the population out by doing what they do? And I won't get into all the ways I believe they do this, where people have less and less chance of, you know, reproducing and stuff. But what if they do get to that level where it's like, okay, you can live forever now.
Crazy.
We can put this here and put that there, and it's just weird, you know.
It is, and you know, a lot of these things that I'm talking about it does raise questions on not just can they, but should they? Should they do it?
I don't, you know, man, I really don't know. I mean, what is the answer there? I mean,
I don't know, because if it is helpful in some way, great. But what are the side effects of that? You know, what are the consequences, I guess I should say.
I mean, I'm the guy who said that I would like my consciousness to live on a computer.
You did.
And I mean that.
Yeah, that's a little different than reviving dead brains, though, I think. I mean, because what you're talking about is just technology. It
is.
It's not creating new life or a clone of something bringing something back from the dead.
I would let him take my brain and hook it to a computer. That's what I meant.
Yes.
Somehow put my consciousness in a computer.
Right. Well, I still have a couple more here, so let's continue with this one. So, some scientists in China, in a bid to learn more about the way the human brain develops, have done an experience where they produced monkeys.
I knew it was going to be monkeys. I knew it was going to be monkeys. Man, if I was a monkey, I wouldn't get anywhere near China. I would just be like, nope, big old case of nope, not going to go.
Well, in this case, they've produced monkeys with an added human brain gene.
No!
And this one is, I mean, the whole article is about how ethically wrong this potentially is.
Oh my freaking God.
So what they've done is they've taken this microcephalin, they have introduced it into monkey fetuses, like 11 of them, and only 5 of them actually survived. They took longer to develop in the womb, but that they were indeed smarter than their unaltered counterparts. They had better reflex times.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
I'm just saying.
They exhibited better memory skills, faster reaction times, and they took longer to develop, more like a human child would. So now they have these 5 monkeys that have this smarter human brain gene in their head. And of course, not everyone agrees with this type of study. In fact, this study could not even be published here. This kind of experiment would not be able to be done in the United States.
Yeah.
And people are somewhat outraged, saying, you know, this is not ethical because you don't know what you're creating. You don't know what it's going to do when you start testing on them. It's not safe for the animals. You know, lots of questions there.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape.
I can't get over it. Listen, ever since I saw that movie when I was a child.
Right.
Ever since I saw that movie since I was a child. I have been totally terrified of the fact that someday it's going to happen. That someday the apes are going to take over.
It's going to be our fault.
And it's going to be our fault. I mean, this seems like the plot. And it would be China. I mean,
yeah, of course it would. Of course it would.
It would be China. And you know, they're going to just take over, man. I mean, that's just so crazy. Why even do it?
Well, they claim it's so they can test how the human brain develops.
Watch a baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what the end game is.
That's
there.
The biggest BS. I mean, there's like a manual they have over there in a Chinese lab, and it's like BS to tell the Yanks, you know, like it's like, oh, you know, we just want to see what it looks like when it wakes up in the morning, you know. No. You know what you're trying to do? You're trying to create super soldiers, super monkey soldiers.
Yep.
That's what they're trying to do. They want super monkey soldiers that are big freaking monkey soldiers that wear monkey uniforms and, you know, carry their monkey bayonets, and they just and they
take over the world.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. And what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do when tell me, you know, when 50 gorilla monkey soldiers,
right,
you know, start walking down the street, dude, you're gonna run, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You won't do you no good. They're gonna catch you and they're gonna rip you apart.
Well, this last one I have is about some scientists from Cornell University. Let me tell you what those guys are up to.
God,
they have successfully constructed DNA-based machines with incredibly lifelike capabilities. In other words, they're organic machines. They're capable of locomotion, consuming resources for energy, growing, decaying, and evolving, and eventually they die. They are living DNA-based machines. That's what they've done. So basically, they grew their own robots using DNA, using a DNA-based biomaterial. They observed them metabolizing resources for energy. They watched them grow and decay, and they programmed them to race against each other. And this is the beginning of something that they want to continue to work on, living machines. So
we've got those already. They're called humans.
So now this group of scientists that I just talked about in these stories, we've got cloning, we've got zombie creation, we've got monkey soldiers, and now we have machines that are eventually going to replicate and take over the world. It's like the beginning of every horror movie that we saw when we were a kid.
I mean, the only hope that we have is that the monkey soldiers fight the androids.
Yes.
I mean,
and the zombies.
Yeah.
And the zombies. Yeah. It's like this one group of scientists here are trying to usher in the end of the world. It's trying to get rid of us.
Science
it's crazy.
Has gone crazy.
It has. What are people thinking? Lifelike machines that that are alive and metabolize their own resources. I mean, that's just insane.
No, yeah.
You pair that with some AI, that's it.
Yeah.
It's maximum overdrive.
Yeah. No, it's just nuts, man. I mean, it's holy cats.
Yeah. So that's what the scientists of the world are working on right now.
Yeah. Right now. No, they need to be stopped. Listen. I'm waiting any second now. There's going to be some really big dude show up from the future. He's just going to show up here in our bedroom.
Right.
And be like, I know, you know, I mean, I mean, where you at? Somebody show up. This is crazy. This is the beginnings.
So it's all those things that, you know, people joke about, but
which one you were more worried about?
I want to say I'm most worried about the monkeys.
Yeah. Yeah, because, me too.
I mean, I don't know. That just, it's all just so crazy. I don't know what scientists are thinking. I mean, I know that they think that these are things that, you know, can help us in some way, but
I don't think they do.
I don't know. I think somewhere there it's like ego. It's like, can we?
No, let's do it. I think they're just playing God.
You think so?
Yeah, and I think they're a bunch of nerds that just want to create. It probably all boils down to them wanting to create a really hot chick to have sex with.
Wasn't that a movie?
I mean, Weird Science. Yeah, that'll be the name of this episode. Okay. Weird Science.
Okay.
Because that's what it reminds me of. Like, they can say all the stuff they want to say. Okay,
right,
and I told you what the Chinese guys are up to. World domination. All right, the American scientists. Dude, they're totally trying to get laid. They've got bras on their heads.
Right.
Okay. Just like the movie. They've been putting like pictures of Kelly LeBrock into their computer. and they're just trying to get laid.
Well, it was weird because I was looking at the news.
They're like,
this week.
Can we make the hottest chick in the world that actually dies by the end of the day? She's born fully grown. We can just get rid of the evidence.
I was pulling up the stories for this week and I was putting them together, and I guess I had found these stories at separate times and didn't really realize until I started putting all the stories together. And I was like, oh, well, these are science stories and I'll put these together. And I was like, wait a minute. And it was like all this weird stuff all at the same time. I was like, something's up. Something's up there. That's too weird.
Very oingo boingo. Yes, it's very strange.
Very strange. All right, well, let's move on away from scientists now that need to be more baffled than they are.
Yes.
Somebody needs to baffle them. Let's go on to some discoveries.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so this is a really interesting story. It's about a 3-million-year-old comet piece that was found inside a meteorite. And they're saying that it could contain the building blocks of life, that it is a carbon-rich material, and it could possibly contain building blocks of life.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. It's this meteorite that they found in Antarctica, and they were studying it, and the piece of material inside is very tiny. It's like 1/10 of a millimeter big. But the piece is, they estimate it's 3 million years old. It is a carbon-rich material, and they are just amazed at the pristine nature of it. It so happens that it got trapped inside this meteorite, so it survived coming through the atmosphere, and it's just been inside that meteorite.
Kind of proves that can happen there.
That's my point. That's the whole reason I got the story. I'm so glad you said that. So, we're not the only planet that gets hit with meteorites. So if this is something that happens, if they do figure out that this has the building blocks of life, what's to say that it's not been hitting?
So panspermia.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. That's the theory. Now, they didn't say that it definitely has the building blocks of life. They're still studying it, but they believe that it could. An Arizona State University research scientist claims that this particular meteorite came from outside Jupiter's orbit, so from way out there. So what's to say that other meteorites just like this couldn't have hit other planets?
Absolutely.
And had the same pieces of material in them.
Who's to say that they weren't put there? It says it was trapped inside there, right? Who's to say that wasn't artificially put there and put throughout the entire universe by the alien overlords,
right?
That wanted to spread their seed throughout
and just hope it took place.
Just see what happened. On that climate in that place, how did that look? How did that work?
Right.
Or their planet was going to blow up. They had the technology to shoot this stuff out, but maybe not to get away.
Right.
And they're like,
they just wanted life to continue.
Yeah, they want their life somehow to continue somewhere.
That's a good point. And what I took away from that particular article, I know it's an amazing discovery and they can't wait to, go into it deeper. But what I took away was that just, to me, says that could happen anywhere. That could definitely be something. They found it. They've seen it. It happens. You can get the material to the planet. So obviously that could happen other places.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, so let's go on to this next discovery. And this is a discovery from Indiana, where a sewer project unearths a trove of mastodon bones.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? It was on a farm, and some workers installing some sewer lines across an Indiana farm unearthed fossilized bones of a mastodon that they say likely stood about 9 feet tall. And the senior research curator of paleobiology at the Indiana State Museum came out, took a look at them.
I bet he hated getting that call. I bet they're like, excuse me, doctor. Yes. We found some dinosaur bones. Oh, really? Great Scott. I can't wait to get there. Where exactly are they? Well, they're located at the, in the sewer that we're working on, and, they're not exactly clean yet, but, at first Doug thought it was something else, and just, he's like, well, that's the problem right there. Look how big that thing is, was some kind of freaking dinosaur, and then it was. It was actually a dinosaur, and we feel kind of strange about it, thinking it was a big crap and all, but we thought we should give you a call, and so somebody will be out there. Sir, we need it done now. Right. I'll be right there. You don't want that call.
No, but he is the one that said it would have stood between 9 and 9.5 feet tall, and that they are going to use radiocarbon dating to determine the fossil's age. But I thought it was really cool. This is just this guy's farm in Indiana. Mastodons walk there. Isn't that insane?
It's very insane.
You don't think about that. Like when you think of mastodons and mammoths and things, you think about Siberia and you think about, all these weird places. You don't think about Indiana.
Right under your feet right now.
Yeah.
Right under your feet. There was, dinosaurs. There's God knows what. This thing's been around many times.
All right. So let's talk about this one last discovery. And this one is really, really cool. It was a discovery made by some school kids. And they discovered,
at least they weren't getting possessed,
a 1,600-year-old gold coin.
1,600-year-old gold coin.
A Byzantine gold coin.
Ooh, from the Byzantine Empire.
And they found it in northern Israel.
Oh, that's kind of strange.
Yes, and it's the first of its kind discovered in the country, according to the experts. So these kids, when they found it, what they did was they took it to their history teacher at school. They took it to school and showed it to their history teacher, and the history teacher contacted the Israel Antiquities Authority, who came and verified it and looked at it. And the kids even got like commendations for, finding it and turning it in.
I mean, like, keep your damn commendation. I want my gold coin.
Well, it's funny because in the story, it says they're ninth grade students. It's 4 ninth grade boys that they were orienteering along a stream. And I got stuck on that for a second because I was like, I don't know what orienteering is. Do you know what? Have you ever heard of that? No. So I looked it up, and it sounds really fun. It's a competitive international sport where you have a compass and a special map that they give you with all these different points on it, and you're in unknown territory. It's like a race where you have to navigate to specific points on this map as quickly as you can, and sometimes there's clues of objects you have to see. You have to visit them in order and get to the finish. It's called orienteering.
Wow.
It sounds fun.
No, it sounds fun for you. Yes.
Well, anyway, that's what they were doing. And they happened to be near a stream, and they found this coin. And I mean, it seemed really awesome. I'm glad they turned it in. It said it was minted by the Emperor Theodosius II in Constantinople, which is, of course, now Istanbul.
Yeah.
Around 420 to 423 CE. And it says one side depicts the image of the emperor and the other shows the image of the goddess Victory holding the staff of the cross. So it was in such good condition they could see what was on it.
That's amazing.
And there's a picture of it on the story. If you go and look in the story, it is really cool.
That is amazing.
It is really cool. I know that they've been having a few discoveries in Israel recently.
Oh, yeah.
There's been some stories about that. But I thought that one was really cool, and good for them for, finding it and taking it to their history teacher to figure out what it was.
Yeah, you'd have never seen it again if I found it. It'd just be on the wall. I'd be like, yeah, we've had that in the family for years.
Yeah, it's been passed down generations.
I've been thinking about getting it, appraised. I haven't done anything with it. Why don't you take it down for me, and I'll give you like $100.
You'd never see it again. All right, so let's move on. And this is about a home for sale. It is the ruins of the historic Boleskine House in Loch Ness up for sale. Do you know whose house this was? This was Aleister Crowley's house. Oh. And of course, Jimmy Page owned it for a while. Oh. And it's just ruins because there was a fire there in like 2015. Oh. But the whole area, like over 38 acres, is all for sale.
Do you know what's probably buried there?
Oh, I can't imagine. But I went and I found the actual listing by the realty company. And on the listing, they will sell it to you as a whole for like £510,000 or something like that. But they will split it up in lots. And lot 1, all it says is the remains of a B-listed Georgian house of historic note. There is nothing on the entire listing about whose house it was. Doesn't say anything about the history of it or anything. It just says that it's of historic note, which I thought was pretty interesting. But it is the house of Mr. Crowley. And it's funny because I was looking this up, and let me ask you if you've ever heard this. So when I saw the name of the house, I didn't really know how to pronounce it. So I wanted to look up a pronunciation of how you said the house. And I found the pronunciation Boleskine. And I think that that's right. But in the process of doing that, I came across a lot of threads and articles and things where people were claiming that most people said Aleister Crowley's name wrong, that he himself didn't call himself Aleister Crowley. He would say Aleister Crowley, like that it rhymed with holy. Now, I don't know if that's true because I have not watched enough stuff with Aleister Crowley, and I know most people say Crowley. So I don't know if that's really a true statement. I wasn't sure if you knew.
Crowley.
Well, Crowley, like it rhymes with holy.
Holy Crowley.
Yeah, like it rhymes with unholy, and it's Crowley. But now I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if maybe it's just a situation where in some countries that last name is pronounced differently.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting because I'd never heard that before.
Master Crowley.
No, everybody says Crowley.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll always say because that's how I know it. But I thought that was kind of interesting that...
I know, we should summon him and see.
You want to try?
Yeah, I'd like to summon Aleister Crowley.
But the story is really interesting, and there are parts of the house that
there's probably a tricky demon somewhere, and it's like you know, like the virus websites when they redirect you if you get one thing wrong.
Right.
You know, if you put Googler or something like that, .com or
Google with too many O's or something like that.
Yahoo, you know, and it always takes you like somewhere crazy.
Right.
The demons are probably like that too. Like we'll go there and we'll try to get, you know, and we'll say Crowley wrong, you know, and it's like,
hello, we've been waiting for you.
So it's really Crowley, but they've spread the word that it's Crowley.
Yeah. So you get the Crowley demon.
There you go.
Yeah.
That could be it.
Rhymes with Hallie.
Sorry, my demon always sounds like that. I
like your demon. He doesn't sound very...
Well, I don't like the, you know, I want mine to be more like,
Hey.
You want fun little demons, right?
I'm a fun little demon.
You know.
All right, well,
I'll give it hell.
I have 2 more stories, and we're not buying that house, by the way.
Oh.
I'm sure it would be cool, though.
God bless America. I would absolutely.
It's a beautiful area. It's right there on Loch Ness. It's beautiful. But, yeah, no.
Well, I mean, if it hadn't burned down.
Mm-hmm. If there was actually still a house there.
I'd just like to do a seance in it.
I'm sure a lot of people would.
Wouldn't you like to do a seance where Alistair had done a seance?
It would be interesting. I'd be curious. I have to say, I would be curious to see what would happen.
I bet he would show out. Don't you?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
all about that.
Yeah, all about occultism, mysticism, and everything. So, all right. So I have 2 more stories here, and this one is about White Sox analyst Steve Stone. So the Chicago Sun-Times,
I doubt that's his real name,
did a profile piece on him over the weekend, and in this profile piece, he was talking about how he's psychic.
Oh.
And he explained that he frequently gets very specific premonitions of what will happen during a game as it unfolds. And that he doesn't share those with the viewers, you know, but that he does get that information. Now, he never really said anything because he was always afraid that people would think that he was crazy or, you know, or that maybe he just knew it was going to happen because he knows the game so well.
Right.
But his current broadcast partner, his name's Jason Benetti, he suggests that there is some truth to it. And they have this little game, I guess, that he's seen him do where he'll write on a piece of paper what's going to happen and he'll lay it on the table. And then after it happens, he'll turn the paper over and his broadcast partner will see it. And it's exactly what happened in the game. And, you know, Jason Benetti said that this isn't something that's happened a couple of times. He said a couple of dozen times, and he's always right. Always. Mm-hmm. So it was just a fun story they were talking about.
No, it's really cool.
And, you know, they asked him where he thought his psychic gift may have come from, and he doesn't really know. It's just something that he's had his whole life.
Yeah.
And he never really said whether it happened outside of, you know, the game.
It does.
But I thought it was interesting that he felt now it was okay to talk about it. And, you know, they mused that perhaps maybe he'll write a book about it one time, but it does weird out his broadcast partner. Like his broadcast partner was like, I'm a little weirded out by it. It's kind of cool too that he can do that. And that, you know, they sit so close in the booth that there's no way that he could like get it wrong and hide
Jesus
it
Christ.
or anything
you know
like
what?
that. Mm-hmm.
As superstitious as baseball players are, I am so shocked that the White Sox manager doesn't have that dude down in the dugout. You know, like, all right, Steve. So bottom of the 6th, what do we do? You know,
he says that I think what it is he gets the premonitions of what's going to happen, like coming up, and he says he did say that he didn't share it because most of the time it's unfavorable to the team, and he doesn't want to, you know, say anything, but he will write it down for his partner and you know, do the little game. So I thought that was kind of a cool story that he talked about that during his interview.
I thought about being like the resident psychic for my favorite football team, but everybody knows the Dolphins are going to lose. I mean, after a while they'd be like, "We're not sure this guy's really."
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, any of us could have done that.
All he does is say the Dolphins are not going to make the playoffs.
Now, if you could get them to make the playoffs, that'd be something.
That'd be pretty awesome.
That'd be awesome, yes. All right, so this last story, you're going to love this. This is about Washington State. And it says that they could become the first state to allow human composting.
What?
So the lawmakers have passed a bill that would allow residents to take part in what they call natural organic reduction of human remains. And they have research that said careful composted human remains could be safe for use in a household garden. you could be like, one of your choices after you die is you can be made into compost. And it says on here that the report pointed out that the measure had been several years in the making, and that there was a trial. This is the part I love. There was a trial that involved 6 people who agreed to the organic reduction, and the results were positive, and quote, the soil smelled like soil and nothing else. So apparently you can be composted now in Washington State.
All right, look. I really loved grunge. Mm-hmm. And grunge was cool. Mm-hmm. You knew that it was drug enhanced, and that there was definitely a lot of drugs going on there to make that music. But, some things you overlook. Mm-hmm. You're like, you're getting some really good music here. I mean, come on. It's got to stop. Washington State, you're drunk. Go home. What?
Yeah. I mean,
no. That's insane.
I mean, it's just a choice. You don't have to be made into compost.
What kind of? I mean, but that's just. do you want a flower from there?
I mean, no, I don't. I'm just saying it's an option.
There's going to be bits and pieces of them in that. It's going to be so haunted. You talk about haunted flowers. Well, I mean.
Yeah, I agree. So, and I guess one option, instead of cremation and having your ashes carried around in an urn, you can be made into something useful. I don't know. That's pretty intense.
So, you tell us, would you guys want to do that? Would you want to be made that way? What did you say you're doing with my remains?
Oh, I'm going to have you cremated and take your ashes and make them into a diamond.
Oh.
No, I'm not really. You don't want to be cremated.
I don't want to be cremated. I don't even want formaldehyde in me. I want to.
I'm not sure I have a choice in that matter.
Damn it. You got a choice. They don't have to find my body. I want to keep my blood because I'm coming back.
So what am I supposed to do with your body, your decomposing body?
I don't know. A freezer?
I think I'll go to jail for that.
No.
Excuse me, ma'am. Why do you have your dead husband in the freezer?
I'll write a note and pin it to my own chest. I'll just be like, look, I'm dying. I'm going to die any second. I just want to write this note. She didn't kill me. It's just, I really didn't want you guys.
Do you think if you have enough money and you plan your own after thing and you have just some big freezer, you could put it in your will that you want to be put in this. I mean, they have cryogenic.
They cryogenically freeze. I would love to do that.
Freeze people. Yeah, there you go. We'll just do that. We'll just cryogenically freeze you, before you die.
Yeah, no, I would love to do that.
Not way before, but
Yeah, no, not like tomorrow.
Right.
But I mean, no, I would like to do something unique. Mm-hmm. That would be kind of cool. Or be shot in a black hole.
There you go. Oh, there you go. We'll just send you up there.
Search for Spock going on.
We'll send you up there right when it's almost time.
Just shoot my coffin up there. That'd be fine with me.
I'm surprised it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Buried in space.
Well, it has.
Has it?
The guy that Elon Musk killed and, put in the car and said it was a mannequin.
Right. I forgot about him. That's right.
Yeah, that dude's totally buried in space and he's just floating along, right?
Maybe he'll come across a black hole.
Well, maybe he will. Thanks for the news. All right, well, there we go. It happened again. And this time, it was one of the best news episodes I think we ever had just because of the freaking crazy weirdo stuff that was on there.
How many ways can you die?
Yeah.
And then be turned into mulch?
Yeah. Hey, dude, the great monkey army. That's all I'm worried about. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go to find out everything monkey army. You know what? All the links are there. This has been too crazy. I can't even do anything else. For my lovely, incredible wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.
Hey guys, if you like what you've heard, please check out ParanormalSideshow.com and follow the links for our weekly podcast. Also, become a Sideshow off yourself and pick one of our killer levels on our Patreon to help support the channel and to help keep us bringing you bigger and better content. So until next week, for my lovely wife Stacey, I'm John Edwards. So long and
stay strange.